How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. I'm doing well. I know it's been a hot minute. I'm so sorry for my absence. I recently got a job working part-time with a local animal shelter. I'm loving it. I just am really busy with that, working long days, so I'm gone about 11 hours out of the day by the time I get there and back. So I still enjoy it. I love it to death, but that's where my time has gone and all my energy. But I will not forget about you guys, and I want to, hopefully, when I can manage my schedule a little bit better, I want to at least get one video out. I want to at least get one video out a week for you all. Certainly for my members, thank you so much, members, and for my patrons, thank you, Patreon. Thank you to the people who have stuck around this long, and for the great, wonderful support and comments from you all. So this was a suggestion along with Dale McCluskey. This was a review request a while back when I did the review on Dale on the Canine podcast. Forgive me, I know it was so long ago. My brain is just fried. But so this guy, I think his name is Robert Hynes, is somebody that Dale apparently looks up to, or Dale likes to refer to this guy a lot. So we're just going to look at his video real quick and see what he has to say about why positive reinforcement, in his opinion, is a lie. He states it as a fact, but he says positive reinforcement is a lie and it's abusive. Dog owners need to wake up and realize blah, blah, blah. So that's, again, in his words, he states it as a fact. I mean, as with anything, you can love an animal too much. At the animal shelter, we have plenty of animals. We actually have 7 very large, mastiff mixes that are completely terrified of strangers. The owner loved them, and I have no doubt that he loved them. But by loving them, he has now made an 80 to 100 pound, 9-month-old batch of dogs so fearful that we can't get them, we can barely get them microchipped or collars put on them. I mean, it's a chore just to move them from one, kennel room to another. So, love, and I mean, I'm not saying positive reinforcement. I'm not saying that love is positive reinforcement, but by only doing what your dog wants, or what you think your dog wants, or giving your dog what you think is love, you can actually end up causing so much more harm than good. I mean, these dogs were fed he threw a bag of dog food out there on the ground, and there you go. But he loves them. They're nice as can be to him, and he loves them. But love and only doing things that you think are positive for the dog by not socializing them, not teaching them how to walk on a leash, not doing what's best for them by getting help much earlier. I mean, it is what it is, but I'm not going to pair that with positive reinforcement because it's more of a training method and philosophy, and there are still corrections and boundaries that are taught while using positive reinforcement. So with enough of that, catching up, let's get into it.
Positive reinforcement is one of the biggest lies ever stuffed down dog owners' throats today. It's been going on for the last 40 years. Positive reinforcement is one quadrant of a 4-quadrant system that doesn't care about the dog's brain. It doesn't care about the dog's ability to think. And it also dictates that dogs cannot possibly learn without reward and punishment.
Okay, so first off, that is, again, his opinion that positive reinforcement doesn't work, or just using the one quadrant, or that whatever he's stating, that it's a lie. It's actually not. It's just his misunderstanding of it and his own ignorance or ego or whatever it may be, choice and macho sense to deny science and to turn a blind eye to it and continue to think that punishment is required, especially by aversive, aggressive tools and techniques and methods. He states everything as a fact. That's not a fact. That's your opinion, dude.
When you look at your dog, do you see a brainless automaton, or do you see an intelligent creature?
And positive reinforcement works for the brain of the dog. We're not just throwing cookies at them and then saying, go have at it. And it takes a brain for a human to catch which behavior we want to reinforce. And we know the animals are so smart. That is why we do not rely on primitive caveman type techniques of force and bully and pain and punishment and fear and force. Okay? He actually has it wrong. He's making his own case, I guess. Or he's criticizing himself, where we use clickers and positive reinforcement to train killer whales, hyenas, polar bears, these animals in captivity, because we are aware of how intelligent they are. I'm just kind of going on a tangent. I know my brain is fried, but we use positive reinforcement because we know how smart animals are. And this is the best way to show respect of those animals. Because with positive reinforcement, with a polar bear, with an orca, with a hyena, a hippo or a rhino, you can't force them. Actually, you can if you get them young enough and you abuse them, blah, 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 but you can't force an orca to come over and go belly up so you can draw blood from them, or you can open their teeth and do dental work on them. I mean, there's ways you could probably do it, but you're not forcing them to do anything. So the idea that he says that we are insulting animals by using kinder, more appropriate, more humane methods to train them and teach them, that's just a bunch of malarkey.
Capable of thought and not choice. Because if you see an animal capable of thought and choice, throw positive reinforcement in the garbage. Treat training today is all the rage, and treat training is not positive reinforcement. As a reward-based training, you're rewarding your dog for everything, good and bad, believe it or not.
No, actually, not necessarily. That would mean that you have bad timing, but treat training, if you do it properly, yeah, it is positive reinforcement. If you use positive reinforcement and you get more of a behavior you want, you're doing it properly. If you say you're using positive reinforcement to teach your dog not to pull on a leash, but your dog is still pulling on leash, you're not doing it properly, meaning you have bad timing. You're rewarding at the wrong time. You're working too fast. You're not rewarding enough. You're not rewarding quick enough. You're in too distracting of an area. Don't blame the method, because you as an individual or a trainer don't know how to read the situation, read the room. You don't know how to catch the dog before they go over threshold. So yes, you can teach a dog, any animal, the wrong behavior using treats or toys or whatever the dog finds most positive and reinforcing. You can teach them the wrong behavior, but you can also unteach that behavior, called counter conditioning, and we teach a behavior. I'm not going to say a better behavior, appropriate behavior, right behavior. We teach them a different behavior we prefer. For dogs pulling on the leash isn't natural to a dog. Walking next to us is not natural. A dog barking at noises they hear, that's natural to them. Rolling in the mud or in a dead bird, that's natural to them. Digging in the trash because they smell something in it, last night's leftover chicken casserole, that's natural to them. So we cannot say that that's a good or bad behavior. That is just a behavior that is natural to the dog. We can teach them without ever scaring them, harming them, using force, to not go in the garbage, even if there's a whole fresh pizza in there. Because they will learn, because we give them that respect, that we know that they can learn. We can teach them, hey, ignore that. I'm going to throw this pizza on the ground. I'm going to throw some bits of Cheez-Its, whatever the dog's favorite thing is, on the ground right in front of them. And using positive reinforcement, you can teach the dog, hey, ignore all that, and you get something that you really enjoy when you leave it alone. Or you could do what people do, dog goes in the trash and you stick a lemon in their mouth and you hold it there, Or you can smack them on the face. You can use a prong collar. You can use a choke chain. You can use an e-collar.
Okay? You need to understand that treat, number one, the dog needs to justify it. And if you don't understand what that means, get online and search for B.F. Skinner and Pigeon Superstition, the man that's blamed for all this crap. Secondly, if you have a dog that's scared and you're trying to lure it with a piece of food, the dog is generating cortisol. The dog is pumping cortisol hard and fast. It's stressed out. Okay? Now all of a sudden you're going to turn around and force that dog to stress eat. And on top of that...
No, actually you can't force a dog to stress eat. That's a good way to know. I will test a dog, like the dogs I mentioned earlier. Yesterday we had to throw a slip lead on them, and the only way we can get them from one kennel to the next in a timely manner was we had to drag them over there. We didn't want to. Afterwards, we gave them the hand that they happily took beforehand. I gave it to them. They didn't touch it. What does that tell us? The dog is over threshold. I knew the reason why. After 5 minutes, they calmed down. They were able to eat again. But if a dog does not eat, that's our number one clue that we are over threshold. So we take them back to an area where they're comfortable and they can eat, and they're not stress eating. I mean, they're not like humans where they just some cases, where if they're bored, they eat out of boredom and whatnot, but they're not like humans where they get scared and they eat, so we're not, this guy is just, he's frying my brain, what little I have left.
And people are wondering why they're spending months and years and never achieving anything. You're working backwards.
No, that's because, I know I pause a lot, I'm sorry. That's because they're not using the method properly. It's not the method. It's the individuals using it. Okay? If I have a dog, I've taught so many people how to use positive reinforcement. Because I practice it a lot and I learn from my mistakes, I have better timing than they do. It doesn't mean I'm smarter or better in any way. I just have more time practicing the right timing than practicing bad timing. They say practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You can practice all day long, clicking 3 seconds after your dog sits, and your dog is already sniffing the neighbor and doing whatever. Okay? If you don't learn proper timing, you're teaching your animal a different behavior. They're still learning, but it's the human who needs to learn our timing. We don't need to blame the dog because we suck at timing or because we're slow, we don't understand. I mean, so many people I've worked with, the reason why it takes 2-3+ years in some cases with my clients is because the human does not understand. The dog understands better and more quickly than the human. I am teaching the human. And I can't just teach them with force. I mean, I probably could, but, it's easy to train the dog. It's difficult to train the human. Because humans have a much wider range of emotions. We have different psychology, than a dog. I mean, we control everything our dog does. So, if it doesn't work out and
you're the one that's standing in front of the dog, blocking it, and you're being told to do so.
How are we
blocking
blocking
learn
it?
through social cognition. Watch and learn. Get out of your dog's way. And they will change so bloody fast. When you start giving them choices to move forward, they'll change so fast it'll make your bloody head spin. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Dogs will go from a complete basket case in the backyard to being calm and, approaching people and dogs in the dog park in a matter of a couple of hours.
Well, that's probably because of a number of different things. He acts like he's saying something, but he's really not. If a dog is locked up in their backyard, one, what is the history of that dog? How long have they been there? Do they have any mental stimulation? We have a dog at the shelter, Jackson, who everybody knows Jackson when you go there and you say his name. He is a border collie. He is a young dog. He is... And nobody can handle him on leash because he needs a job. If this dog in the backyard has, built up barrier frustration, much like Jackson, because he sees dogs either through a wooden fence, through little bits, or if it's a chain link fence and he sees them and it builds up that frustration because he wants to say hi or he can't, or they start fights and the other dog can say, hey, screw you, whatever, and then they leave, it's going to build up frustration. So if that dog gets to go out to a dog park and run around freely and play with dogs and tire themselves out and run for 2 hours and get themselves so tired, of course it's going to look like a change. But is it going to stick? No. Not in my opinion. Not. Chances are long term, no, that's not going to work. And for a lot of people who do that, which I see most people, when I see a person they use the throwing of the ball and tiring their dog out, being off leash and not off leash approved areas. I know I'm a Karen. They rely on tiring their dog out to fix their behavior problems. It's not an actual plan of training. I would much rather spend several months working with the human to understand their dog on a cognitive level, if he wants to talk about cognitive and, and all this other fancy terms. I would much rather teach the dog and the human to understand each other, and the human to use the dog's brain and not just let them be a wild animal. I mean, that's okay too, but long term, that's not going to help because you're going to rely on that.
Over the last few months, I've been talking to a lot of dog owners through Facebook, and what I'm hearing is absolutely devastating. Owners are being told, you know what, forget it, you can't even fix it. Don't even bother trying. Hire a trainer. But yet all trainers and behaviors learn is bloody quadrants. And it's all based on a bloody lie. Trainers know that they're lying to you. They're gone so far right now, they can't back out.
Okay, well, I will say that, yeah, a lot of trainers that use aversive techniques are lying. I'm pretty sure he's probably, referring to positive reinforcement folks, but no, the people that use special training collars, I feel a lot of them know that they're lying because they know how the collars and the tools work. They are, in my opinion, the abusive part of training, not positive reinforcement. Hi, Worms. Oh, he woke up. Got a little itchy. Okay, he's going back to bed. Hi. So in the end, you don't need a trainer. You can easily learn this. Any owner can learn this. If you put enough time into it, you know what to research. It's about, training has become almost like it's very political, which it shouldn't be. It's almost become like a religion. I don't care if anybody listens to what I have to say. You don't have to train the way I do. I'm just trying to make it black and white and simple for the people who are being confused and lied to by aversive trainers. And by aversive trainers, I mean people like Cesar Millan or Joel Beckman, all these things that whether it's purposely spread as a lie or it's unknowingly spread as misinformation, it's still harmful. So you don't have to listen to me. If you want to follow this guy, go follow him. Go follow all the people I mentioned. I'm just trying to, clear up the confusion.
I talk about this stuff on different trainer control groups on Facebook and different venues online. I get banned automatically. If I post a link, I've got a link I'm going to put on this video to the history of dog training. And if you read it, you'll understand why it's garbage, and it needs to go in the garbage. If owners sit down and...
his opinion. And the history of dog training, one is, what is the source? Who wrote it? Is it written by animal behaviorist or veterinary behaviorist? By someone who actually has a degree or a doctorate, who has taken many courses in dog psychology? Or is it just written by some random Joe on the street? I could write a book saying whatever, and someone would probably buy it and believe it. And it's like, okay, so just because someone posts something, what is the source? Who wrote it? How long ago was it written? Because the history of dog training, it's constantly changing. It's evolving. And people like this are just stuck in the past. They don't want to admit that their way of training is harming dogs. Nobody wants to, believe that they're being abusive. But just because you don't want to believe it doesn't mean it's not true.
Really understand the history of dog training today, or the history of what we have the nerve to call dog training today, you wouldn't be hiring trainers. You'd be kicking your asses down the street. And I mean
Well, that's just
okay?
implying
I'm
violence.
going to get off my soapbox now. Have a read.
Okay, so if you want to, you can go to his video. You can check out his link. I'm not going to go looking into it, but also understand that it doesn't matter what the history is or what training was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 10 minutes ago. The dog doesn't care what the history or training is. The dog cares what you do in the here and now. So if you want to use leash pops, then do it. If you want to learn how to use markers, either a clicker or marker word, and you're consistent, and every time you say that, they get a reward that they find rewarding, then learn with your dog. Learn how to use that timing and get good at timing to teach your dog any behavior you want to. They use it to teach polar bears, they use it in zoos, and I'm sure sanctuaries, to teach polar bears willingly go to the edge to a certain area of their cage, whatever you want to call it, their environment. They stick their little paw through a little hole, and they hold it there while they take a needle, they stick it in between the webbing, they draw blood, there's no force, and then when they're done, they give the polar bear, the tiger, the hyena, whatever, they give them their reward, and they're free to go. They don't have to anesthetize them, they don't have to sedate them or dope them up. I mean, unless you're doing like more of a procedure, but they don't do that with force because that's not going to work. So if it works for the polar bears, then, good enough for me. So thank you so much for listening to my rant. I will work the best that I can to get more reviews for you all out. The next one will probably be a Joel Beckman, because I know somebody asked if I could cover him again. So we have plenty of different... I have so many videos that I want to cover, and I will get there eventually. I just have to stop adding to the list so it's not, endless. But so thanks for stopping by. Go say hi to your little critters and your little family. Give them a little kiss from me or something that they appreciate. And until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.